Welcome to my channel. I am RISHA J, and today we're going to talk about me, okay? And for you to get to know me. And I'm just so excited because I have so much in store to talk about, so much information. And I think that this information, no, I believe this information is very valuable, very beneficial to your health, overall health. We all know that a lot of times we find ourselves happy, but we also find ourselves down a lot. And I want to talk about what you can do to get yourself out of that sadness, that depression, whatever state that has you feeling down or has you feeling like you cannot go further, because you can. It's all about our mental health, and I feel like a lot of that stops a lot of things too. Okay. To mental health is because, y'all, I've been through some stuff, as in everybody knows. Everybody's been through some shit. They're going through shit. Everyone struggles in a way, you know? And so I felt like it was so important for me to do this. And I've tried before 3 times on YouTube. And I was like, I knew what I wanted because God gave me the vision, but I wasn't sure of how I wanted to convey the message that I wanted, that was in my heart to give to people. And I felt like when I was trying, it wasn't given. And I'm a perfectionist, and I feel like when I do something the first time, I feel like I'm hard on myself because I want to get it out and I want to deliver it the way I wanted to deliver it. And I feel like that was a huge bump in the road for me. I felt like I was struggling mentally because I feel like I was like, dang, I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough to do this. But overall, the whole time I was. It was just that I had to do a lot of more inside work. You know what I'm saying? Like internal work. And in order for me to get here, and here am I. I'm thankful and grateful, so blessed. And so, yeah, I just felt like I tried, but it just wasn't my time. And remember, God's timing is perfect, okay? It's perfect. And I said I'm going to give it a shot. Remember that when you want to do things, if it doesn't work out the first time, come back and do it again. If it doesn't work out that time, come back and do it again. You know, come back and do it again. It's gonna work, period. Because if you know it's in your heart, you want to get it out, you know that this is something that you're meant to do, remember and trust God's timing. God's timing is I mean, baby, there's no question in God's timing. His timing is so perfect. And I just realized I just had to wait for God. And I just had to do what I needed to do in the meantime, which was more self-care and more self-love. Just taking care of me mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Continue reading my scriptures, and I'm just like, and continue feeding myself good positive thoughts and good positive affirmations, and taking affirmative action and what I wanted to do, and just being patient and waiting. I mean, and that's just what it is. And in that time that you're being patient and waiting, just be yourself. Learn to, you know, find hobbies that you know that it's aligned with what you want to do, like, and just, you know, find things that, you know, that touch your spirit, that keeps you whole, and stick to those things. Okay, one of those things for me is reading. I love to read inspiration, motivational things that keeps my mind, that challenges my mind and just keeps me going and feeling great about myself. I feel like when I learn to dig into someone else's life, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, I find that, you know, there's a lot of gold into that, because you get a break from your own life. You get a chance to see things for yourself. I love to talk about mental health. I love to just learn more about what I can do for myself mentally so I can move on and have the life that I choose and that I want. I feel like when you're good here, everything else will fall into place. Extrovertedly introverted. But when I am home, which I am most of the time, if I'm not working, people say, well, I cannot be home all the time. I don't know how you do it. They be like, I'll be in my head if I'm just sitting home by myself. Yeah, you're right. But also too, it's more about learning to enjoy your own company, because a lot of times we feel that we can't be ourselves unless we're around people. But that's when a lot of we need a lot of validation from other people too. So I feel like it's more important when you are loving yourself and you're to yourself, so you can figure out more of what you like and what you love to do. But I love to be by myself. I love to be alone. I also would love to hang with my friends and stuff. Of course, they're long distance, but we all have lives. We're all trying to, do what we need to do for ourselves and our families. So I feel like at the end of the day, a quick check-in in your family, it's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with that. So I have created a podcast called Illuminating Unapologetically. And I published that in November of last year, November 19, 2021. The reason why I published that podcast was because I was going through a lot mentally in 2021 up in 2022. And it was a lot for me because I was struggling mentally. I had anxiety. I was going through a lot within myself. I was fighting a battle within myself. And I don't know, it was just so crazy and so strange. And I realized that a lot of the things I was going through was things I needed to learn to let go of. And a lot of that was fear, because I was always a dreamer. I was always a person who was a goal-getter. I always felt like when I work hard and I move towards my goals, I always obtain the goals that I'm trying to achieve. And I feel like too, I didn't understand when I was in a season of transformation. I didn't understand it. And I was writing down these things that I wanted to do in my journal, right? And I'm a writer, I'm an English major. I've graduated from Allen University in 2018 as in Bachelor of Arts in English. And I guess that's where my love for English and reading comes from, and writing as well. And it's so crazy because I always said, I'm not gonna be a writer when I leave. But I find myself writing a lot, journaling a lot, doing a lot of that stuff, and just writing out my goals and stuff. I feel like for me, that is such an important piece of just keeping me going and keeping me sane, because I always feel like I have things that I want to do. And anyway, when I was going through my whole season of just transformation, I realized that in this season, I'm going through a lot of the anxiety and the depression and the fear and all that stuff. And I realized the things I was writing down had nothing to do with those things. So remember, when you're going through a season of transformation, that's what I call it. I don't never call it, taking the L or anything like that. If it's the L is for a lesson. You know what I'm saying? I learned something in that lesson. I learned a lesson in that season where I was to get me in the next season. Remember that when you write things down and you want to do these things, a lot of the things that you are dealing with, a lot of things that you are accepting now, in the now, while you're writing that stuff, you cannot take that with you in the next season when you obtain those things. You can't. I feel like there is no way. Just like if I said that I want to be a motivational speaker, right? But here I am battling with anxiety. I'm scared of confrontation. I'm scared of speaking in public. I can't. How am I going to obtain that goal? I will always have fear that someone will be looking at me, or I will have to say, there's things that you just need to work on. And that's why I say when you are going through those seasons, those are just seasons of transformation. That's it. My neighbor's dog is barking, so forgive me. But anyway, you're going through a season of transformation. Remember to keep God in your circle, okay? Take a break from everything and just stay to yourself. But keep doing what you've been doing. Journal, do whatever it is that you've been doing. But if God is trying to transform you, you cannot be doing the same thing over and over, because then you will be recycling the lessons over and over. Remember that God is with you. okay? And the Bible says to cast all anxiety onto him, for he cares for you. And when I was going through that, I had to remember that that's exactly right. And I had to, and then that season of me going through anxiety, I had to confront a few people. I didn't want to do it, but it was a need. And it wasn't me confronting them as in being, yelling at them, being mean. It was like, I had to confront people instead of creating a war with them myself. Because I used to regret it later, like, damn, I should have said something to her when and it's like, I don't want to keep going through that because it breaks me mentally, emotionally, you know what I'm saying, physically, and spiritually, all of those things. And I felt like, you need to learn to speak up for yourself, Marisha. You need to learn to speak up for yourself. And God has put me in situations where I had to do that. And I'm grateful that now I'm comfortable with saying no. I'm grateful and comfortable with saying, asking questions, because I need to know. I want to know if I asked a question, you know what I'm saying? And not being afraid and just be like, okay, ignore it. It is what it is. I'm just going to bury my feelings. No, say what you need to say, in the words of John Mayer. And also that helped me too a lot when I listened to that song, because a lot of that had to do with how I was feeling, but that song got me through so much. And my podcast, I decided to create a podcast called Illuminating Unapologetically, because I was tired of the darkness weighing on my life. And I was tired of putting my feelings to the side. I was tired of just not taking myself serious. I was tired of holding so much in that I needed to get out. I was tired of responding like a child from my childhood trauma. I was tired of it showing up in relationships or friendships or situationships. So I decided that I needed to get it out. I needed to heal. And a part of my healing was creating that podcast. And I'm gonna tell you why. Some people say, oh, well, that was deep. Oh my God, like that was so deep. How did you come up to doing this? And I want to tell y'all, do what you want to do that you feel that is good for you. I felt like creating a podcast was good for me. I've always wanted to create a podcast. And I felt like in my heart, it was meant to be. And I'm like, why am I holding all this knowledge? Why am I holding all these feelings in? I need to get out. And I need to say how I feel. And like I said, John Mayer said, say what you need to say, even if your hands are shaking and your faith is broken. And he said that, and I said, you know what? That's exactly right. Let me get the equipment to start this podcast. And that's also important, to invest in yourself. When I started investing in myself, I started to see the hand in God. I started to see God's hand in everything, because I realized that after I went through that whole depression state, and after I did my podcast, and I got great feedback off it as well. And I realized that this is my moment to continue to create these episodes for my podcast. And I had to get everything out that I was dealing with. And nobody knew. You will only know what I was going through unless you actually listen to the podcast. I'm talking about situations from my childhood, just myself in general, making decisions and being in relationships, how that traumatized me, and just dealing with, mental and verbal abuse, a lot of that stuff. And I had to get it out, because honestly, in the Black community, let's think about it. You can't go to your people about a lot of things, because they probably haven't even healed from the shit that they've been through. And it's so crazy to me, because people can sweep shit under the rug and keep it like that for years and years and never cope with the shit that they've been through. I cannot do that. And I realize as I'm getting older, it is important to say how you feel and say it and be proud and keep it moving so you can let it go. Because when you sweep things under the rug, it comes back. It doesn't come back the next day, maybe not the next week, but it's gonna come back, and it's gonna show up again and again and again until you realize that this is something I need to deal with. I need to face it. And I felt like creating my podcast was a way of me actually dealing with my trauma, because I don't like putting my issues and my problems on people. It's not their problem. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like I've been doing that and unintentionally in my situations and in my relationships and my friendships, and I felt like it was something I had to deal with in order to become a better me. And like I said, I've always been a dreamer. I always said I wanted to do more. I always wanted to be more, and I knew I was capable of it because I knew I'm different, and I knew what I wanted to do. But in order for you to get where you want to be, baby, you got to go through those seasons of transformations. You have to. You're gonna have to do it, and that's inevitable. That's something that you cannot avoid. That's something that has to happen in order for you to be your best in your winning season, okay? So I wasn't afraid of what I was going through. I was just a little frustrated. I was lost. I felt lost. I felt like I didn't have nobody. But all I needed was God. And he reminded me that every time, y'all. And I'm just so grateful and so thankful for it. For all of, the transformation seasons, and I felt like I was losing, but really God was just transforming my mind. He was transforming my mind, the way I think, and I just wanted to share that with you guys because I want you to know what you're about to get into as I go through my next episodes and my next videos of Illuminating Unapologetically, and this is part 2 of that. If you have not listened to my podcast, Illuminating Unapologetically, it is on Spotify. It is season 1, only 1 season. I started doing season 2, but I only have 2 episodes on there because I realized that I really want to do like a visual of part 2. And I wanted you to see the grace of God that is on me and around me, because when you listen to that podcast, you might say, oh man, this is depressing, this is a little deep, this is too much. But understand that a lot of people who are just like me, who look like me, who are Black, told me and said, I am so thankful that you spoke about that. I am so happy that you talked about your childhood and how your stepfather was there for you and your real dad wasn't there. I'm just so thankful that you were able to talk about a lot of things, because I too, has similar relationships and similar situations like that. And I'm grateful that I did it, because if I can touch one person with what I put out, I can show them that it can be done and they too can do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's all up to you. It's about the drive that you put in. It's about what is important to you and what is valuable to you. And that was something valuable to me, because I felt like I wanted to help somebody. That was my way of saying I want to publish this to the world. I can help somebody. I know I can't be the only one, And so I'm glad that I was able to touch some people. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching. This was just like an introduction, but I just want to say that I love talking about mental health. I love practicing, doing self-care practices at home, just getting better and doing better. I'm still struggling in some ways, but I am very grateful for the progress I have made, and I just want to get better and do better. But thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you guys have a great day. Yeah, and be great.